Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there, and a good morning to you. And I'm trolling through something, I want to print something out real fast so that I have it later in the show for you. But of course, I can't find it. And in fact, for me trying to talk at the same time that I'm scrolling around looking for something on the internet. What I'm looking for is something very provocative that I read on the bus coming in that was said in an interview by Michael Chabon, the author who wrote The Mysteries of Pittsburgh and who spent much of his formative years here, who lives now on the West Coast and has a new very critically acclaimed book out. And I was reading, actually, a review of that. And he has a quote in here. There it is. Okay. I'm gonna skip it. Excuse me. I'm just gonna grab it. I'm so sorry for this. This is not a good opening. Hang with me here, just 1 second, because this will come into play later, I think. Okay. Well, welcome to Monday. I haven't even gotten my coat off. Hang on. Well, I think I'm not sure where I'm going with what I'm about to head into. So you're about to enter into the labyrinth of my brain. I've not really sorted out the thoughts that I'm about to afflict you with, but they've been muddling around in my head since yesterday, and just haven't really left me alone since the weekend. And let me just... The general title is Young Black Men. And for some reason... Well, I know what the reasons are. Young black men have been on my mind. There was the hostage-taking incident at downtown in Pittsburgh. Was that Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
That was Friday. That was the same day, I believe, that I spoke to the two young black men who both are paraplegic, who spend their days, their nights, the rest of their lives in wheelchairs because both, in separate incidences, were accidentally shot and paralyzed from the waist down by gun violence in their neighborhood, in their environment. So we talked to those two on the show Friday, and the hostage thing's going on, and the hostage taker, a young black man. And the final straw for me was the Steeler game. And when the Oakland Raider player was injured and lying inert on the playing field, and all those other players, most of them young black men, kneeling, heads in hands, praying, looking grim, could have been them, one of their own. You don't know if he's dead. You don't know if he's paralyzed. You don't know what, but it ain't that unusual a sight. This one went on a little longer than most before they carted the unfortunate off the field, the playing field. Well, I don't know what I'm going to say except that, do you get the impression, or is it just me? I know, granted, this is anecdotal, but anecdotal and I think representative at the same time, of a nation that is quite willing to discard young black men. Discard them. And young black men know this. They know the deck is stacked. They know the game is rigged. They know that there are more barriers set up for them, and at the same time, fewer opportunities. They know that they're hardly a priority. They know, in fact, they're viewed, frankly, as a problem. I could talk individually about each one of the hostage taker, the two guys in the wheelchairs who now inspire others with their music and their motivational speeches. I hope they inspire. They inspired me. And then our gladiators, our football players. I want to tell you something. I didn't know the Steelers lost that game. I couldn't look anymore. I couldn't stand it. I turned it off. And then this morning when the newspaper came, I opened up to the sports page to find out how that young man who had been lying inert on the playing field, how he was. And you know, I had to page and page and page through all of this verbiage about the game and how this happened and that happened and, oh, the tragedy of apparently of a loss. And blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, last time I looked at the game, there was a 25-year-old guy lying on the field with a whole bunch of people around him, and I didn't know if he was going to be in a wheelchair like the two other guys I had just spoken to. And I thought it was probably good news that I couldn't easily find anything about his condition. And then, of course, I did. And he's still in the hospital. That's what I saw. I don't know if he's out now. He's not paralyzed. But who knows what that hit did for him. Just one more hit upon many hits. And if they patch him up and he comes back onto the playing field in a week or two, the next hit and the hit after that. This knowledge, I'm sorry, I think I'm real close to crossing the line where I won't be able to watch football anymore. I have to tell you, I couldn't watch, didn't want to watch, sick of it. Sick of it. Because we're all so... I mean, the only reason it's happening is because we want to watch it. I don't know. I think there was something. It was just that was one young black man too many for me. That it was a football game that finally did me in. I think I'm done. I don't give a damn if the Steelers win or lose. I don't anymore. The game is disgusting. It is absolute choreographed violence. And we now know that those players that we're cheering and rooting on are harming themselves. I mean, we can see they are, but we thought, shake it off, get back in, blah, blah, blah. It's their choice, da. The fact of the matter is we know now that their brains are being knocked around. Those helmets don't do a damn thing. You need a helmet in between the skull and the brain. An interior helmet. There isn't one. Those helmets are protecting their skulls, not their brains. Their brains are being knocked against the skull over and over and over and over again. I don't know. I'm done. I am done. We're throwing away black men. I think the hostage-taking thing, again, that was almost pure entertainment too, wasn't it? Black man in the lead, always the black male in the lead. And then you find out more about this poor soul. I feel I could weep for that man. That young kid. Was he 23? He's probably battling a mental illness. Somewhere I saw that he had stopped taking his meds. He didn't make a wise choice. He rode, this scary guy, he rode his bike across the West End Bridge, armed with a hammer and a kitchen knife. Not a clue what he was going to do. But he woke up off his meds and feeling like the world was against him, and he wasn't half wrong. Senseless, crazy, and the poor, crazy kid, he threw the rest of his life away. You want to weep. When you see someone in a motorized wheelchair now, what are the odds that it's a young black male? What are the odds that it's a young black male? They're huge. Huge! I talked to just two of them the other day. I don't know. Then, I think I told you on Thursday night, I was at this event where a young, not as young anymore, black man who had come from a poor neighborhood, but had been in his public school given a violin at the age of 5. And I watched him entertain a crowd with such virtuosity and talent. And he made a point of saying that if he were born today in this America, as opposed to the America he was born in the 70s, if he were born today and sent off to the public school, there'd be no violin placed in his hand. Because we've taken the money away from those poor public schools. So he'd just be another little black boy in America that we were willing to discard. I'm just sick of it. I'm so sick of it, I don't know where to turn. I'm sorry. This is not a nice way to start out a Monday, is it? Here's what I wanted. Here's the quote, though, I wanted to give you from Michael Chabon. It upset the hell out of me. This comes midway through a very, very long interview. And this did not print out the right page. Oh, no, yes, it did. Oh, it did. He talks about the fact that he, as a young kid, he grew up in Columbia, Maryland. And when he was about 11 or 12, he was moved to Pittsburgh by his father. But Michael Chabon, the novelist, says, when I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, which during the 10 or 11 years my family lived there, tried and to a fair degree succeeded in being a very racially integrated, economically integrated place where all were welcome. He said, I grew up surrounded by black kids. They were in my classroom. They were my friends. They were my enemies. They were my persecutors and my saviors and my girlfriends and my teachers and my school principals. And when I left Columbia, Maryland, I rapidly discovered that the rest of the world was not like that. It was a rude awakening for me. When he left Columbia, Maryland, he came to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So when he's saying, I learned that the rest of the world was not like that, the rude awakening a young Michael Chabon had was here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The interviewer says, you have spoken a lot about moving to Pittsburgh and encountering a degree of white racism that you had not encountered before. And Michael Chabon says, it was just startling. It would be like someone who was raised fundamentalist Christian encountering the raunchiest pornography for the first time. That's how Michael Chabon, that's the metaphor he uses for moving from an integrated community to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was like a fundamentalist Christian encountering the most repulsive pornography. I don't suppose Visit Pittsburgh would want that quote on its materials. He goes on to say, the most memorable encounter I remember was with a policeman, a Pittsburgh policeman. Just hearing him so comfortably and casually spout the most atrocious kinds of things about black people who were standing nearby. And then he talks about living in Pittsburgh. He said, then this long period began because of where I was living, where I drifted away from that experience of being around black people and living around black people and feeling connected to black culture It just got away from me. It got away from him. Here in Pittsburgh. I read that on the bus coming in, and it brought back to me the memories of my arrival here. And they dovetail totally with what he's saying. And I've been here now almost most of my life. Another year and I'll have been here more than half of my life. And I remember being startled, like Michael Chabon, by the segregation of this city, by the racism that was just, well, he's got the word casual, just out there. So anyway, all of this has been roiling around in my head, I guess since Thursday night with the violinist, and then the two guys in the wheelchairs, and then the hostage taker, and then football, and then this quote. And how do I end up anywhere but with a feeling of, well, there's many emotional roads I could go down. Despair, rage, self-recrimination. But those are all negatives, and I understand that they are, but that's what we have created. We've created such a negativity in this country, a negative environment in every way for black young men. And then when they react to the reality of this environment, it just creates a circle where they're more and more doomed with natural reaction to it. It makes you want to weep, I think. So that's what's been in my head. I don't think I'm a football fan anymore. The test will be tonight. The Packers are on Monday Night Football. Okay, how about this? Let me take a break, and after all that heaviness, which I don't know, come back and I'll throw a few other things into the hopper. And if there's anything you would like to talk about with me, feel free to call. That'd be 412-316-3381, or email me at lynn@pghcitypaper.com.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
BergBargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, the City Theater, History Museum, Carnegie Museums, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. This week, get 40% off gift cards to the Harris Grill and Shadyside. BergBargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. BergBargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay. Margie writes, the Chicago teachers were striking for physical education, art, and music to keep those classes. People bitched that the kids were out of school for 2 weeks. However, the teachers did end up saving those classes. Well, you paid more attention than I did. I didn't know that. Did you see the big McClatchy? McClatchy, remember him? Not that I want to bring up another one of our sports teams. They won yesterday. Now all they have to do is win 7 of the next 10. Yeah, fat chance. Well, okay, no. If they all of a sudden start to play like they were playing in the first half of the season, we can do it. But unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable that this could turn into another losing season. Well, it has already. That it's a losing season. Beyond belief. Speaking of that, no, I got a funny letter. Although I don't think this guy meant it. No, I'm quite sure he didn't mean it to be funny. You tell me. Guy named Paul Thompson writing from Lansdowne, PA. That's near Philly. Yeah, he says it. Listen to this. I'm a die-hard Pirates fan living in the Philly area. I am dying hard. But there is a part of the Pirates' collapse that is even more disturbing. It's the whole Zoltan thing. I know that it was all innocent fun, but I can't believe the one true God is not amused. I know that God makes it clear in the Bible that you are to have no other gods before me. There are players on the Pirates who know better, even in fun, to have exalted a false deity. I wish I could get this message to the players.
No, he's serious.
He is serious! Jess says he's serious. He is. He's serious.
He's a weirdo. I'm serious.
So he... This is a Pirate fan who says, he's figured out why. Well, who knows? He might be right. The fact is when they started the Zoltan thing, they were still on top, but then it's right. God is not amused. God is not amused. The one true God is not amused.
No, it's the one true God.
And hence, there is no joy in Mudville. So I get off the bus today with all of these, heavy thoughts in my head, walking down Smithfield to come here. And I walk by this church, Smithfield Church, and there's these 2 guys standing on the steps. Typical Pittsburgh looking. One's white, one's black. And they're doing the one thing that does bring Pittsburgh racially together. And what would that be?
Talking about sports.
There, you got it. Jess got it. Jess said they were talking about the Steeler game. And I heard one of the guys was saying, well, if Monday he just stopped. He didn't. The other said he had to keep moving. I don't know what, and blah, blah, blah. And I just keep walking. And then I hear right behind me a woman's voice saying, God damn Steelers. And I turn, and it's another woman. It's a woman who's heard their conversation, and I sort of looked at her and smiled, and she said, oh, I'm sorry. She said, I'm sorry, but damn Steelers, she said, I can't. And so you see, how much that game and that team are woven into the very fabric and sense of what Pittsburgh is and who we are. And the one really positive thing I will say is that it does allow blacks and whites some common ground in this town. That was a white and a black guy standing on the steps. And the woman behind me was a black woman, and I'm a white woman. And somehow there were 4. There was Two interracial conversations going on Smithfield Street on the same time, in some cases with total strangers. I don't know if the guys knew each other. Total strangers, because of that commonality of rooting for the same team. That's a positive about sport. So anyway, the Sunday New York Times, the Week in Review section, which is where all the op-ed is, and it's a heavy-duty section on Sundays, front page story was about Kevin McClatchy finally saying, "I'm gay."
Front page.
Front page. Front page of that section. And he did it talking to a wonderful New York Times columnist, Frank Bruni, who wrote the piece. It was reprinted on page 11 of Sunday's Post-Gazette, which I find fascinating. Stop and think about that. This is a story about the former owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates coming out saying, "I'm gay." And the New York Times puts it on the front page of one of its most read sections of the week. And the local paper, the home of the Pirates, buries it on page 11, which I thought was odd. If you missed it, dig back in your, or look online for it. It's, it shows again. It says something about us, I guess, and about the struggle to let people live their lives. I don't know. I knew McClatchy was gay. Well, let's put it this way. I didn't know 100% he was gay, but if you'd asked me, I would say he's gay. I think it was pretty well known, at least in the East End where he lived, and among people who would attend certain events and stuff. Kevin McClatchy was gay, but he never acknowledged it. You never saw him with another guy, really. And in this piece, he explains that he had no personal life when he was here with the Pirates. He didn't think he could. He also tells the amazing story that when he was one of the potential buyers of the Pittsburgh Pirates, remember, he was the savior at the time. I mean, they've had a few, but he saved them from leaving town, maybe. When McClatchy bought him, there was a little bit of a effort to back him away from trying to buy the team by someone who he did not identify, and I don't know if he even knows the identification, of someone who said, "You keep this up, you go after this team, and we're letting it out that you're gay." So he was threatened with being outed if he were to continue with his effort to buy the Pirates. That caused him to actually come out to his sister. He had not come out to anyone in his family. He said, "Hey, this could happen because I'm not going to back away. I'm going to do this, but I just want you to know that this could happen. I'm going to call this guy's bluff." He did. He called the guy's bluff. He was 33 years old then. That's how young he was. He turns 50 in a few days, I think. And I guess what he told Bruni is, "I've lived half my life, more than half my life, with this lie and not being who I am. I'm not going to do the rest. I'm done. I'm done." But he points out that there's not a current Major League Baseball player who's out. There's not a current football player who's out. And he really felt that he could not have been in the position he was and have been who he was. But he talks about that he had tons of anger and that he frequently heard, homophobic language, and that only further convinced him to keep his sexuality under wraps. His partner now, he lives in Ligonier, and he has a partner. And the partner says that he's really damaged. He's been damaged. I don't think, by the way, that the PG reprinted the entire article. I'm looking at the PG article, and this looks a lot shorter. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm looking for the quote of the partner who compared Kevin McClatchy to buying a floor. He said he's like if you bought the floor sample at a Pottery Barn. I can't find it. But well, I'll just tell you, it's like the partner says, he's sort of like if you buy the floor sample at Pottery Barn, it comes with some nicks and scratches. It ain't quite right. That's what he's like. That he's nicked and he's scratched. But at least he's moving forward. And McClatchy says this at the end, I've got a birthday coming up where I'm turning old. I've spent 30 years not talking about my personal life, lying about my personal life. There's no way I want to go into the rest of my existence and ever have to hide my personal life again. And of his earlier life here in Pittsburgh, he said, I think I was paranoid about people. I was suspicious, definitely, and angry. The funny thing in this article is that he met his partner through somebody who worked for Rick Santorum. Oh, no, that Rick Santorum helped bring Kevin McClatchy to his true love. I suspect I know who that is because, as I've said, Santorum has had people in his very close inner circle who are, in fact, gay. I know one of them. I like him very, very much, and I suspect he's the guy. And as Frank Bruni put it in the Times article, for their contentment, that's McClatchy and his partner, they can thank former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum. They were fixed up by someone who worked for Santorum and who McClatchy got to know through his professional interactions as the Pirates' owner with Santorum's Senate office. So, oh, my. So that's some. Now, I got to tell you, I think there is what could be an award-winning series unfolding in the Post-Gazette right now. It started Sunday, and it's about UPMC, and it's about UPMC's real estate acquisitions. And if you read this article, I read yesterday's, I have read most of today's. It will, I don't know, would I say surprise you? I don't know. Does anything surprise you when it comes to UPMC and how they handle things, how they work, how if they want something, they get it? If they have to pay 10 times the cost of what it actually is, they get it anyway? because money to them is no problem. If you read this series and you think that UPMC should be considered a nonprofit, then I think you're out of your mind. It's unbelievable what they do. They mentioned, I couldn't remember who destroyed the Syria Mosque. It was UPMC. That's when they were just getting started becoming big guys. They weren't that big back then. That was 91, 92, 91-ish. UPMC is looking at that land. The Shriners who own the Syria Mosque wanted to sell it. That is one hunk of real estate sitting right there on the University of Pittsburgh campus on 5th Avenue, right smack dab in the center. Well, you know who wanted it? University of Pittsburgh wanted that land. And UPMC, which obviously University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, it showed itself to be, in fact, a separate entity because it outmuscled the University of Pittsburgh and got that parcel. As you know, the Syria Mosque was as wonderful, as well, loved, had concert venue, blah, 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 blah. There was a huge effort on the part of community activists to save it from the wrecking ball, of course, as so often the way this kind of thing goes. It failed. And down came the Syria Mosque. UPMC said, we are going to put up 2 big skyscrapers. We're going to put up 2 huge buildings. This is going to be such a benefit to the community. That was how long ago? 20 years ago. That was 20 years ago. It's a parking lot. It's a parking lot. And guess what? It's a tax-exempt parking lot. It's just a bunch of asphalt. Some of the priciest real estate in town and not one penny in property tax being paid on it because it's UPMC's parking lot where once the Syria Mosque stood. But if you read today's paper, please do, about its acquisition of the parcels it needed to build the totally unnecessary hospital it has built in Monroeville. A hospital built literally spitting distance from another hospital. But as you know, UPMC, the nonprofit, is really about total capitalist domination of its market. So it closes down the East End hospital it had in a depressed community of Braddock. And it builds this incredibly expensive, palatial hospital almost next door to a hospital that already exists in a community that didn't need it. And wait till you hear how they acquired some of the property. Wait till you hear the prices that were paid. Wait till you hear the havoc this creates when they do this on real estate values in neighborhoods in town. It doesn't matter. It's like rape, pillage, and burn. UPMC. Despicable. Simple as that, folks. Despicable. We'll take a break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
The Pittsburgh Burger Competition and Music Festival benefiting the American Liver Foundation comes to the Rivers Casino on Saturday, September 29th from 1 to 7. See Pittsburgh's best restaurants compete for the title of Best Burger in the Burg. Sample and vote for your favorite burger while you listen to great Pittsburgh bands and enjoy ice-cold Amstel Light. For more information and to buy tickets, go to midnightguru.com. The Pittsburgh Burger Competition on Saturday, September 29th at the Rivers Casino. Get ready to get your burger on. Sponsored by Amstel Light and produced by Diane Rua Media. Gambling problem? Call 800-848-1880.
Sorry, Jess and I were talking about something else. We're not paying attention to our business. And our business is right now telling you that it sure would be a wonderful thing if you would consider becoming a volunteer tutor at the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council. You know, I've spent much of this show bemoaning reality. and there's so much negativity around. We all have the potential to push that negativity away, to create a better situation. And of course, I mean, unless you're a megalomaniac, you understand you're not going to do it on some grand scale. You're going to do it within your own little orbit with your own choices, like how to spend 4 hours a week. 4 hours a week is all the Literacy Council asks of its tutors. 4 hours a week to help another human being learn probably the most important skill they can learn in terms of opening up the world to them, reading. You will be taught how to teach. You will make the world slightly better. You can go to bed at night feeling smug and self-satisfied. And yea, verily, you may even find yourself in heaven. Let's call the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council and say, I'm interested. Doesn't mean you have to do it. I'm interested. Here's the phone number, 412-393-7600, 393-7600, or on the internet at their website, GPLC, Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council.org.
Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for Jim Brewer, the Lebanese Food Festival, Roy Haynes, and Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania. On the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All right, we got some comments to share. Diane writes, I thought my head would burst when I read that yesterday. Now, because I don't know when you sent that, I'm not sure what your head would burst when you read UPMC or when you read McClatchy or when you, I'm sorry. Well, I understand in general. Yes, my head would burst too. Yeah. Okay. Allison writes, Harry Reid, you gotta love Harry, saying in the well of the Senate that Romney may be in the 47% of not paying taxes because he won't release his taxes, and also suspending the votes for the day in the Senate so that Scott Brown couldn't use that excuse for not being able to debate Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. I sent Toomey a scathing email last week about voting no on a bill. Yeah, good. Good for you. Being one of those no votes on a bill that would have helped Afghan and Iraqi veterans get jobs in police and fire departments around the country. In fact, this was a bipartisan bill. Don't get me started. She says, despicable and shameful. The bill got 58 to 40 vote, and if 4 of the Republicans who co-sponsored the bill had actually voted for the bill they co-sponsored, it would have passed. To hell with the vets. Defeat Obama. Don't give him any wins. Romney called us the Democrat party twice in his interview on 60 Minutes. And also incorrectly, what else is new, said that Obama had a supermajority in the Senate his first 2 years. Oh, dear Lord, when is this going to be over? I guess we got 6 weeks. Pretty much 6 weeks. Somehow, guys, we're going to make it. I swear to God, we're going to make it. Lynn writes, have you seen any of the signs being put out with the 10 Commandments on them? No. At the bottom of them, it says something like America's Moral Foundation. 2 of these signs popped up on my hill amidst political signs, all of this on public land. They are styled just like a political sign, a plastic sheet slipped over the steel frame. What will they think of next? Well, the 10 Commandments in and of themselves are not objectionable, are they? I don't know. Back to your comments. Tim writes, if UPMC wanted the Syria Mosque site so bad, why is it still a parking lot after 20 years? Well, yes, that would be a reasonable question to ask, Tim. Do you know what this series? Read the series. What's fascinating is they're forever buying up really good pieces of real estate because they got to have them right now, paying 3, 4, 5 times the value, and then sitting on them. They're sitting. And every time they buy up one of these parcels, guess what? It goes off the public property tax roll. Because, of course, they are a nonprofit. Case in point, Baum Boulevard. There is it was an old Ford plant or something, Ford Motor Company. It still has it says Ford Motor Company on top. And it used to be where Paper Mart had on the first floor, and it's across from the Get-Go, okay? And it's right near the Hillman Cancer Center. The guy who owned that building did not want to sell it. But they kept coming at him. I want this building. We need this building. We're going to turn it into a research facility. We absolutely have to have this building. We want it. We want it. We want it. We want it. So finally, the guy who owns it says, okay, I'll get him. I'm going to put a price tag on this thing. Let's say it was worth $10 million. He puts a price tag on it for $100 million, thinking they'll go away. No, they gave him $100 million. And now it's sitting there empty. Do you know what that kind of a sale does to the property values all around it? This is UPMC. They are like a monster who is literally gobbling up the city. Tim writes some more. I never hear much about the impact of UPMC acquiring these massive amounts of land. And here, I'm always here. You're always one step ahead of me, or I'm ahead of you. Here we're thinking alike. Along the Baum Boulevard Center Avenue corridor, exactly. I am sure others could raise issues, but a major one was shutting down the Giant Eagle at Cragen Center. Now, maybe Giant Eagle there was planning to close, as they're no group of saints either, but why sit on that property and just leave them there as eyesores? See, I didn't know UPMC bought that Giant Eagle site too. It's an eyesore. It's a parking lot. It's on a corner. There are all these corner properties, which are in Oakland and Shadyside, which are worth unbelievable amounts of money. And the fact is the property taxes that Giant Eagle paid and the property tax that the owner of that Center Avenue, Baum Boulevard paid are now lost to the city. Lost. UPMC gobbles this stuff up. It's going to own the entire town. And money is no object. Despicable. Oh, Diane, thank you, Diane. She says the thing that made her eyes pop out that when she was reading in the paper was the letter from the guy about Zoltan. If only the pirates can be told to stop the Zoltan. Well, they've been so hapless, it's not like anybody's even doing that anymore. There's no reason to do it anymore. If only somebody could tell them to stop. Then maybe they can win 7 more games and actually have a winning season. Okay, a little environmental note. This blows my mind. And again, it just shows how the biggest threat to the planet is humanity. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You could, it'd be the opening of the ozone layer. It'd be, no, it's us. It's always us. So, get this. Because of human-helped global warming, and because of the resultant melting of the Arctic ice cap, there are places way up there that all of a sudden are open to shipping that never before were open to shipping because, in fact, they were frozen solid. Now they're not. They went from ice to water. So, being human, as soon as something opens up, we're in there. And who are we that are in there? The oil companies and other big ships. So generally, it's the oil and gas industries who are expanding in the Arctic. And they got their ships up there and all this stuff and other, humans where humans never were before in any numbers. And where humans go, there is the creation of soot. Black carbon. Guess what? The soot, the black carbon, it lands on the ice. And it takes the ice from being white and translucent and turns it dark. Dark ice soaks up more solar heat, right? We know this. The dark ice soaks up more of that sun and consequently melts even more. So what you have is the humans create situations in which the ice begins to melt, and the humans go in because there are resources to be exploited that have been uncovered, and then they create more soot, which creates more melting, which creates... And before it's all done, said and done, we think we've won the lottery and we've destroyed the earth. That's what's going on here. Here's a quote from someone at the United Nations Environmental Program. There's a grim irony here that as the ice melts, humanity is going for more of the natural resources, fueling further melt. And you can see the circle. Meanwhile, off the eastern coast of Canada and the United States, ask any fisherman, and the fishing ain't so good anymore. You know why? 'Cause the fish that lived there and who created fisheries and industry and livelihoods are moving. They're saying, I don't know what's going on here, but it's getting too hot for me. I'm going north. So the fish keep moving north, and the fishermen, or they're dying, by the way, or they're dying. The Atlantic waters off the northeastern United States warm to the highest levels ever recorded during the first 6 months of this year. Virtually all ocean life is being affected by the unprecedented temperatures. Cod, other fish have been driven much farther north than their historic habitats. And believe you me, this is trouble. I also happened to see today a story about Greenland. You know, there's actually people who live on that godforsaken hunk. Greenland, which has no green. Just like volcanic rock or something. Greenland, where fishing is the major industry. The few people that live there, they can barely make a living anymore. The fish ain't there anymore, even in Greenland. And for the poor people that have lived there forever, suicide is way up. Alcoholism is way up. There's nothing for them to do but sit around and drink and kill themselves, I guess. So this is, again, the greatest threat to our globe and to our to our future is us. And on that happy note, I really want to underscore, if you please read this series in the PG. It started on Sunday, so just go online and find it on UPMC and its real estate dealings. It is something that every one of us should know about, be aware of, and at some point, if you're sick and tired of living in UPMCville, in this company town, we need to start putting some pressure on the timid politicians around here to stand up to these SOBs. Okay? Pressure. Stand up. Thank you very much for listening to any or all of that. I can't imagine why you would have. However, tomorrow we'll try to lighten things up a little bit. I said try. I didn't say I promise. We'll try. And meanwhile, enjoy this beautiful autumnal day. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.